you guys want to be on Geffen Records. And that was a life-changing moment. Wayne and I would stay up all night, probably doing cocaine or something, or drugs. We were just crazy back then. And Roxy came together really quick. It just like, it clicked. We got $500,000 back then just for the record deal, a $400,000 publishing deal. And this is in 1992, man. So that's big. But man, Roxy was always this band that looked at every gig as a prize fight. I had a Yamaha R1 and I hit a telephone pole one night at 90 miles an hour. And by the grace of God, I'm here. And I remember I was staying with Jani, and he and I went out and we got lit. I was seeing triple. I mean, he was sitting there. I could see like 3 of him. Me and Wayne were like, if we couldn't get the drugs that night, we decided we weren't going to rehearse. We had a video coming out for Times Are Changing. That was going to be our home run hitter. So I went out and sang with Warrant for a little bit. I never played live with them, but we recorded some stuff. This is the first time I've ever told anybody this. So I'm facing 20 years in prison, okay? So you don't think I'm stressed out every day of my life? I am. But Tommy came back and he announced that, we're going on tour with Motley Crue. I don't want to be that. We're not that band anymore. This is me. This is what I want to do.
The hair metal guru from Warrant to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
Hey, what an honor to welcome Todd Poole to the show. Todd is the son-in-law of Jimmy Jamison of Survivor, was a founding member of Saliva, put out 2 albums with his band 714, and yes, he is the singer and driving force behind one of my favorite bands on the scene, Roxy Blue, who put out some amazing albums, including 3 with F&A Records, who I do some work with. With that, Todd Poole, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me. It's going to be fun. Yeah, man, it's been a lot in my life. Every time I turn around, something's going on. So that's a good thing.
Well, and you're still, Roxy Blue is still out there doing it. So I salute anybody who, is still out there making music, man.
Yeah, we're out here playing. We don't play as much as I would like. We've been writing. It's actually it's not the same band as it was. So we still do. We do a few songs from the Want Some, and we do. We had a record we put out with Frontiers, so we do a few songs off that. And we do a great version of, and I call it a great version because the Beatles are one of my favorite all-time bands, but we do our own kind of version of Eleanor Rigby.
Okay.
Which is kind of wild because we did a show with Enough's Enough at the Whiskey. We were out there, and it was like a 3-day event at the Whiskey, and LA Guns, Enough's Enough, Roxy Blue, and Chips was out there, and it's weird because we played the night before them, and it was a 3-day event, like I said. So I went to his show, and they're great. Enough's Enough. He's carrying the torch, and it sounds great. But they do Eleanor Rigby too. He and I got to laughing about that because he's a big Paul McCartney fan, like myself, and so that was pretty cool. So we're gonna record that song actually. Okay. So we've got some new material we're working on, but like I said, it's a new band, and so even though we can play the old stuff and we do a good job at it, I don't want to be that. We're not that band anymore. So I don't want to just try to relive that all the time. I've always tried to move forward. And plus I've done so much since Roxy Blue. There's no Sid. Josh is still in the band, our bass player. Yep. And Scotty unfortunately passed away this past year. And, God rest his soul. He was a great guy. And he did play on the Frontiers record, and did an amazing job on that record. That's so, yeah, and as I know, the music business has changed so much. I don't know how much of a business it is anymore.
Right. And I want to because I want to talk about the Frontiers record. I want to talk about 714. I'm hoping I'd love to talk about it all if you've got the time. But I
got the time, brother.
I'd like to start here. Like, you've had this crazy career that we're kind of talking about. Like, When do you know, like, man, this music, that's the path I'm gonna take?
Oh, well, I mean, for me, I think it was pretty easy. I can actually remember when it hit me. My dad, God rest his soul, took me to this. It was a little store in Memphis called TG&Y back in the day where I lived, and I'm guessing I'm 10. I don't know what year it was. Let's see, Kiss Alive. The first Kiss Alive record came out,
That's 75.
75. So I was he took me to the store, and they had albums everywhere back then, and I remember getting that record, and I remember coming to the house and being in my room. And I think music always was. My parents said I used to get on the. I had a big red toy box, and people would come over, and of course I'd jump up there and try to entertain and stuff. But I remember getting that record, and I remember opening it up, and this is the magic of all of us old school people that played. Vinyl is coming back, which is a beautiful thing. But being able to open that record and you get your own imagination and your own dream. I mean, you're in awe because it's rock star. I mean, these guys are like not real people to you, and so you got to see them in a magazine, or you got to see them on a record, or you have to go to their concert. There was no social media to where you could see what they were eating for breakfast or whatever. So,
Right.
I remember opening that record and putting the record on, and I mean, immediately when Deuce came on, I mean, it's like immediately I was drawn to that record, and I think unbeknownst to myself, my parents thought something was wrong with me because I didn't come out of my room for a couple of days, and I was just so in awe of that, and I knew that right then. I'm like, I don't know if I actually said it to myself, but it clicked. This is me. This is what I want to do. I want to play music. And I think it just hit. I think like a lot of people, it's instilled right then in you. When it clicks, it clicks. And at that point, I was just, I was a, I think I based, as much, I used to air guitar, with the guitar in front of the mirror and all that. But drums, my dad bought me a drum set from a guy down the street for $50 or something. And I just played those drums like relentlessly. My parents were very supportive of me. I was able to set up drums in a room, um and I just played drums. I mean, drums came natural to me. I had to work hard at it, to be able to become a pretty good drummer. And I mean, not to boast or anything, but I mean that was my deal.
Yeah.
Um, Guitar. I messed around with guitar, but it didn't come as easy to me as drums. Um, so I just played drums, and I remember I had a few people in my neighborhood, my friends, my childhood friends, and we just kind of started playing together. And I was the singer and the drummer. I mean, I was writing some cheesy ass songs back then,
Right.
but so that just kind of evolved.
Okay.
I played drum. I mean, I was a drummer for. That's all I did. I didn't play guitar. I didn't. I concentrated on what I was good at, and I didn't start playing guitar till basically. Well, I got kicked out of a band. Oh man, it was a terrible deal, and it was probably the greatest blessing that ever happened to me. I was playing for a band called TNA.
Yeah.
And great band, and they played all cover songs. We played all cover songs, and we play. And I had already done some road work with a band called Touche, and I was like 18 years old or something at the
Yeah.
time. But I remember I played with them for a year, and then I went and practiced drums for about 3 months. I wanted to get my timing down. I was just doing it to be a better drummer. It was above a liquor store in Memphis, and I rented a room, and I got a call from Nina Macros, who was the owner of a club here called Stage Stop that used to be a big time club here, which Roxy ended up getting signed at that club. But She said there was a band in Bowling Green, Kentucky that was auditioning drummers. So I loaded a van up and I went there. And when I got there, it was, they'd already said, well, we already got the guy we're getting. I was like, hey, I drove all this way. Give me a shot. And they had this house out in the woods, this big white house is what we called it. But it was just a hippie house and everybody lived there. It was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
So the bass player, Mike Gum, he ended up coming from Cincinnati. So we both were the new guys coming in. So I think they were trying to throw us off or throw me off. So they all came in and it was a weird audition. It was just the guitar player and the other guys just kind of watched. So they said, well, do Hot for Teacher. And so at that point, I'm like, yeah, they're trying to throw me off, but I knew it. So I was like, oh, okay. So we nailed it. And when we got done with that song, I'll never forget the singer, Jeffrey, came up to me and gave me a shot of some whiskey. And I didn't drink at all. And I'm like, oh, no, I don't drink. He goes, drink this. So anyway, I drank it. He says, welcome to the band. So I got the gig. They had a gig that night at a club and I was too young to get in. So I couldn't even go watch them play. So it was, but that was kind of like how I got started.
Yeah.
I did a lot of road work, but I got fired from that band. And because we played, 3 sets a night, traveled everywhere. Everybody was getting screwed up all the time. And it was a fun time, but I was wanting more. I was like, man, I want to write my own songs. We need to write songs, and I bugged the shit out of them, dude. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I just probably bugged them to the point we had a gig here in Memphis, and I'll never forget, we were in Memphis and we were at the band house that they had here for bands. And they said, we wanted to have a meeting with you. And they said, look, the manager said, the guys are tired of you, bugging them about playing original music. They just want to have a good time. And they fired me. I mean, in my own hometown. And it devastated me, man. I mean, it was like, I could feel the blood I've never been, rejected like that.
Yeah.
And so I pouted for about, 6 months. And I went and stayed with my parents for a while. And I was really just broken. And my dad was like, look, man, you'll be okay. Pick yourself up. And and this is kind of goofy, but it's the truth. So my mother says they lived in a place called Germantown, a little town called Germantown here in Memphis. And they said, why don't you go down there and relax? There's a tanning bed down the street and you can just go hang out. And I was like, cool. So I remember going in this tanning bed and then the lady at the counter said, I heard some guitar. She says, we'll be with you in a minute. And I heard some guitar playing in the back, which was kind of weird. And I was like, if you don't mind me asking, who's playing guitar in the back? She goes, well, that's my son. If you want to go back, you can go back and say hello to him. I'm like, yeah. So I opened this door and there's Sid sitting in the corner with a little amp in an empty room.
Yeah.
Playing guitar, and it sounded amazing. And I was like, hey, my name's Todd. He's like, yeah, I know who you are. I was like, okay, wow. I said, man, you sound really good. And I just remember saying, hey, if you ever want to start a band, he goes, yeah, let's do that. I've got a bass player.
Did he know you from the previous band that you were in?
He knew me from just because I'd been playing around a lot, around in town. And he didn't even play. He wasn't in a band. He's never been in a band in his life, and, but he was a great guitar player. He looked cool. Got to look cool. Right. And, so he said, look, I studied at GIT. I got a bass player named Josh who studied there with me. I'm like, well, my cousin Ronnie is a drummer. So we got a band. And I think within a week, I had a place that I rented above a studio. It was an apartment. And it was like a pre-production studio, but I made it into an apartment. And or they had it in an apartment. Anyway, we got together. It had like it had a studio room in there. So we just set up in there and just started jamming. And Roxy came together really quick. It just like it clicked. Everybody played together really good. And I don't think we really even talked about it. I think we knew, hey man, this is going to be cool. And we worked our butts off, man. I mean, we worked every day. We jammed every day. We didn't have anything else in life to do but play at that point. And started playing, opening up. We started opening up, writing songs. Back then, so people would know. I'd say back then, like I'm an antique, but I'm close.
Yeah.
This is weird because I remember some of the songs that we did. We had an answering machine. Sid and I lived together. He moved in up there and got a room. So we had an answering machine. So I remember like stopping and I'd have an idea and I'd get on a phone and I'd call the answering machine and go, and Rockabye Baby was one of them I remember. And Sid would get home and listen to the answer machine. That was our deal. Listen to the answer machine, see if I left anything.
Right.
And then I'd get home and then we had rehearsal later on, or whatever. So we'd work those songs up. And then I remember Sid coming to me and he said, man, I got this idea for a song. And it was Times Are Changing, but it wasn't called Times. It was just a riff, but it was fast. It was a fast song. And I remember saying, hey, let's slow this down for a second. I hear something. And we slowed it down. I can't remember, but I wrote the lyrics and that was born. So that band we worked so good together. Things came real easy. Plus all the players were really good. I always felt blessed that I played with really good musicians.
When did Scotty T come in for Ronnie?
Okay. So what's weird is we started opening up for a lot of bands around here.
Yep.
Bands that would come in town, we'd open up for. And then it got to a point where we weren't getting any gigs. And I remember talking to my friend John Buchanan saying, dude, I can't get any gigs opening up for anybody. He's like, dude, you don't need to open for anybody anymore. Book your own show. And I was scared to death to book our own show. And we did. It was packed. So I knew something was going right. So we started playing and getting in, and then we got to get Scotty involved. There was a guy named Nico Liris who had the studio downstairs from where we lived. So we would go down there and he was really interested in the band. I'll never forget the first time he heard us. He came upstairs and he met everybody and we were jamming. We were all tripping on acid, man. It was fun. It was crazy, man. And, but anyway, we ended up going downstairs and kind of signed a little deal with him. And we recorded all of our songs and he was a great producer. And he was able to so he hooked us up with a guy named Jim Zumwalt out of Nashville, is an unbelievable lawyer, still great friends with him. And he started shopping us around. We started having, some record companies come in. And then we were playing, I can't remember if it was before or after, but I remember playing a place called Rascals. It was a little bar upstairs, like an after hours bar, but it was really small, but it would pack with all the rockers. And of course, Roxy, man, we brought all of our equipment to every gig. I mean, if you could stack an amp in there, we had dummy, we had the Van Halen thing going on. I don't think we were trying to be like Van Halen, but we loved the fact that if more speakers is more, the bigger you are, you've got to be bigger than life.
Yeah.
And Jani Lane was in there, and my friend Haji came up and said, hey, man, Jani Lane wants to talk to you. And I was like, honestly, and I've told my friends in Warrant here, I mean, I was not a Warrant fan at the time. It was the first record. I wasn't a big fan. I appreciate it, but I just didn't listen to that, man. And Jani was super cool, invited us to the show. They had the next night and became good friends. And he started flying their management company in to see us. They wanted to sign us. Anyway, we ended up getting signed by Geffen. The night we got signed was we had two record labels there. I know Chrysalis was one of them. Charisma maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It was a couple of labels there. It was really packed, and Tom slipped in there. Tom Zutaut, who, if people don't know, signed Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Tesla, you name it, he did it.
He was probably the biggest A&R man around at that time.
He absolutely was. And we had met him before, but he was like, hey man, I want first dibs at you guys, but I'm going to put y'all on, give y'all 6 weeks or so, or 6 weeks to 3 months or whatever. And, and work on some stuff and I'll come back. Well, he slipped in right when we were coming on stage, so we didn't know he was there, and he sat beside our lawyer. And the story goes that he signed us on a piece of paper, on a napkin, and gave it to our lawyer, said, I want these guys. So we got done with our show and went back to the dressing room, and they were calling for an encore. And right when we were getting ready to go back out for the encore, Tom walks in the back, and we're all like, what's up, Tom? And he's like, hey, man, you guys were awesome. You guys want to be on Geffen Records. And that was a life-changing moment. So he goes, go out there and tell everybody you're Geffen's new recording artist. And, it's like, it was surreal, man. It was great.
I almost have goosebumps hearing you tell that story.
Man, I tell you what, Roxy wasn't even together 2 years when that happened. So, we worked hard. Back in those days, man, A&R guys flew in. If you created a buzz, then they came out and saw you, and if they liked you and they signed you, and we got a big deal, man. So to get Scotty in the band, it's weird. This is so crazy on so many levels. The night we were playing that we got signed, Scotty T was in a band that opened up for us.
Okay.
And on his drums, now granted, Motley Crue's not even in the scene at this point. On his drums was a backstage laminate sticker that he had stuck on his drums of Motley Crue show. So I said something about it too that night. And we weren't associated with Motley Crue, Top Rock, or anything at the time. So this is kind of sad to say, but this is the way it worked back then. So we fly out to LA. We've got my cousin playing drums. We fly out to LA to sign our record deal. And I remember our lawyer went with us, Jim went with us, and I think we drank all the beer on the plane. It was insane. It was a wild time. So anyway, we get to LA, and Tom calls me in his office. And Grant, now I'm not in a regular office. I'm in an office with a cardboard stand-up of Motley Crue, and then I've got Guns N' Roses over here and platinum records everywhere. And I'm in Disney World for a musician, And Tom says to me, man, I got to talk to you about something. He goes, man, you're a star. I'm going to make you a star. You've got all the makings. We're going to make it happen for you. And I'm a 27-year-old kid really going, man. He goes, you got to get a new drummer. And I knew my cousin, Ronnie was my cousin. He's my cousin. So my second cousin, and I knew his dad wasn't doing well, and he was kind of missing the cues sometimes. He had a lot on his mind, and bless his heart, but he put me in a bad situation. So they said, look, you got to get a new drummer. You guys got what it takes, but you got to have a drummer, and I'm not feeling the drummer. So we go back to Memphis. We come back to Memphis, and they had us a badass rehearsal room that they rented out for us. And that's what we were to do every day. Don't work, don't do nothing. We're giving you this money. You're going to go in that room, and you're going to rehearse all day long, and you're going to have a good time doing it. You're going to write songs and hone your craft and get better and better before we make the record. So, hey, music to my ears. I'm ready to go. But I had to fire Ronnie. Yeah. And so Ronnie came in, and I think he said, man, I feel something. So I told him. And he took it. I'm sure he took it bad. It haunted me for a while, but I was on a mission, man. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the guy. He's still a great friend of mine, and we're still blood, and I love him to death. But at that time, so all I could, I got together with Sid and Josh, and was like, let's call Scotty T. So I got in touch with Scotty. He was working on a golf course. I called him, hey man, Scotty. He's like, dude, how's the record deal? What's going on? And I'm like, well, it's going good. What are you doing right now? And he goes, man, working on this golf course, man. I'm like, well, man, I got a $5,000 check, says you'll walk out of there and join our band. And man, he left his job, drove to rehearsal, and that was the beginning of the Roxy Blue. The real Roxy Blue was Scotty.
Right.
And man, it was magical. Scotty and the guys were just. Was such a great musician, and to team up with Sid and Josh, it was just like unbelievable for me. I mean, I dabbled on the acoustic, playing some of our songs, but these guys were real musicians, so it made my life a lot easier. So yeah, that's how Scotty came into it, and then we were off to make a record.
So you got Doug Thaler to manage you, who was managing Motley, I think, at the time.
He just left. When they left Russia, he left Doc McGee and took Motley, and we were supposed to go with Warrant's management. We were going to sign that deal, and Tom Zutaut and Jim Zumwalt, our lawyer and our A&R guy, were like, look, Doug really likes you guys. He wants to come see you before we make a choice. We really like him. Check it out. And we're like, and I felt kind of weird. I talked to Jani about it, and Jani was like, dude, I don't blame you.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of cool. I used to stay at Jani's house and stuff when I was in LA. So anyway, he came in and saw us, and every time people came in town, we took them to this strip bar we always went to. That was the big thing back then. And so
you must have felt like you're on Geffen. You got signed by Tom Zutaut. You got Doug Thaler as your manager. You got to feel like you've got the winning lottery ticket, I would think.
We did. I mean, we really did. But what's the coolest thing? And then they got Mike. We were going to get Max Norman, who did. I hung out with Max one night. He really wanted to do the record. Great guy. People don't know he did the Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman and all that. But they ended up going. I love the sound of those records, and I love the sound of. I think he did Lynch Mob too, which I really liked.
Yep.
But especially the first record, that was really good, and ironically enough, our first show when we went out to get our bus in Arizona was opening for Lynch Mob. So there you go. But we ended up getting Mike Klink, who was still working on doing the finishing touches on Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. He did Appetite. He did that. Yeah. That was a match made in heaven because Mike was just one of the guys. We love Mike. We had a great time with Mike. Mike made all of our recording sessions. He was hard on us, but it was a lot of fun with him. We had a lot of ping pong tournaments. He had ping pong table brought into every studio we did. So we had a house in Malibu that they rented out for us, and we actually cut the main tracks from a mobile unit that was brought out. So we had great sounds, and we had everybody dropping by the house. Tommy Lee would come by. I mean, it was a lot of fun, man. And we were surrounded by rock royalty, and it's funny because I say this to people now. I don't think we realized the pressure that was on us at the time because we were just going for it. We were very confident in our abilities, but we didn't realize that I look back on it now, I'm going, wow, man, there was a lot of pressure. The expectations for this band must have been pretty high, seeing we had all these people lined up. And then they put us in the studio, the old Warner Brothers studio, I believe it was, to do some recording. We came back and did putting some tracks together, where Van Halen did Van Halen 2, the same room. we got to record a lot of lead guitar at Steve Vai's house in his
Okay.
studio. So we got a chance to meet. We got a chance to sign his wall. I signed right under Eddie Van Halen. Um, we and then we went over. I remember, God, I can't think of the name of the red zone or something. I think in L.A. Anyway, we got to know the guys in Slaughter pretty good,
Oh
and
yeah.
Mike, who passed away. Me and him became pretty good friends. That was pretty sad, but yeah, I mean, we were able to kind of do some stuff, and I got my father-in-law to come in to sing backgrounds on Times Are Changing, Jimmy
So
Jamison from
can, can I
Survivor.
can I ask about that? Because didn't you meet Jimmy Jamison like when you were a teenager, actually?
Yeah, it's weird, man. I was in Memphis, and Jimmy was big deal, man. He played in a band called Target. I grew up on Target, and I love Target. Then he played with a band called Cobra,
Cobra.
which was some of the guys from Crocus. Uh, and they had a band that was really good. And I remember seeing Jimmy on this street called Cooper in Midtown. It's like the hippie zone in Memphis. And I remember seeing him in this blue Cadillac, and he's doing all this with his hair in the mirror and stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's Jimmy Jamison. But as years went by, I got to know Jimmy. I think I met him like through a couple of my friends. I was doing a showcase as a solo artist years ago when I was really young, but Jimmy was like, he always doubted that he said this, but I know he said it because it stuck with me. He told my friend, that guy don't have it yet, but there's something about him that's original. If he keeps working on it, he can. And usually it's coming from the voice, he had the
Yeah.
voice. So I remember I hooked up with Jimmy, and he did a lot of jingles, and jingles, where people don't know, are like just like commercials,
Yep.
So he would get me to go in there and do commercials. So he hooked me up with that, and I started doing commercials and stuff. And so I'd go over his house, and then he and I kind of became friends.
Okay.
I did not know his daughter at all. Never met her. Never saw her in person or anything. And I met Amy in a music store. She was buying a Taylor acoustic, and I thought that was kind of cool. So one of the guys in there said, "Hey, you ever met Jimmy's daughter? I know you're friends with Jimmy. Come over here and meet her." And long story short, I met her, and she left. And I was working at a music store at the time,
Okay.
Yarbrough's Music, and I remember about 2 days later, I think it was, they said, "Hey, Todd, you got a call on line 2." And I got on the phone and said, "Hey, this is Todd. How can I help you?" And she said, and this is after Roxy now. This is
Yeah.
in between.
Is
Yeah,
this in
this
the
is after.
2000s or is this in the 90s still?
It's like 90. Yeah, it's at the end of 90,
Yep.
early 2000. Yeah, it might have been like that.
Okay.
And she said, "Hey, this is Amy Jamison. I don't know if you remember me." But I said, "Oh, yeah, I remember." She goes, "Are you with anybody?" And I said, "No, I'm single." And she says, "No, I mean, are you with a customer? Because I want to buy a microphone." And I was like, "Oh, God, I feel terrible." And anyway, I invited her. I was playing in a band called Rail at the time,
Yep.
not the one on the Basement Taste, but and I invited her to a show at the Hard Rock we were playing at like that weekend, and I took a chance and gave her a kiss, and we've been together for coming up on 24 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
So married for 22. So
Awesome.
but yeah, so
I was gonna ask this. You mentioned like you didn't realize maybe the pressure that you were under when Roxy
right.
was getting signed and all that. Are you glad that you didn't realize? Like, did that allow you to be free?
Oh well, that's a great question because I've thought about that. On the one hand, I'm glad that we didn't think about it because it kept us focused on what we were doing, and that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Um, But man, Roxy was always this band that looked at every gig as a prize fight. I mean, if you were going to kick our ass, you were going to have to bring it. And I think any band that's trying to make it has to have some type of that mentality because you can't settle for second best. I
Totally.
mean, you've got to go for it. We were full steam ahead. And what's weird about our whole situation is we're kind of wrapping our record up, and our record was supposed to be released 6 months before it was. And I talked to, it's funny because about a year ago, I ran into Tom Zutot, called me, got my number, called me and said, I met up with him a couple times, but he told me, uh, oh, Todd, man, I think I screwed it all up, and I love Tom. So I was like, no, man, you know what? Things happen for a reason, whatever. I mean, you can't go back and erase Tom. It is what it is. So, but what had happened was Tom was going through a lot personally in LA at the time. And I remember having a meeting he was talking to John Kalogner in the Geffen offices, and I was standing there, one guy here, and I was listening to him. And Kalogner said, you need to release the demo to Times Are Changing right now. And by the time their record comes out, they'll be halfway gold. Somebody knew something was going on in that company because I know Gary Gers had just signed Nirvana. And I heard the demo of Nirvana. Todd Sullivan from Geffen, one of our A&R guys, played it for me. I'll never forget driving in his car, and he put in a freaking cassette, kids. In his car on a sunny day in LA and played Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I was blown away, man. I loved it. And I couldn't help it. I just loved it. And it made me go, wow, man, I almost want to re-record our record, but things were going good for us. We had a lot going on, and nobody knew that Seattle storm was going to hit. They just didn't. And personally, when I look back on it, I think music needed a change.
Right.
And I don't say that because I didn't want our career or anybody else in that genre of music. I never really considered Roxy Blue a glam band,
Right.
Or a hair band.
Right.
Some of the pictures that were put out there, it made us look like that, but I don't think we were that way. But nevertheless, there was a lot of bands that were starting to sound alike. Yeah. And I think it did storm down on a lot of bands. We were scheduled, so we played the Troubadour, and we did it for Westwood One broadcast, and Tommy Lee had announced all the guys at Motley were there. It was the John Corabi days when he came in.
Yep.
Still friends with Krabby, but Tommy came back, and Shotgun Messiah was actually playing the show too. But Tommy came back, and then he announced that, we're going on tour with Motley Crue. So we're just like, yeah, I mean, things are going to change because touring's where it's at.
Yeah.
You sell records when you tour. Yeah. Good thing that's what Kalogner did with Jackal. Was able to put them out with Aerosmith, and you sell records that way. But unfortunately, about that time, Seattle comes in, and it becomes within 2 weeks, man. I mean, especially within a month. I mean, cowboy boots were out, combat boots were in. You know what I mean? Flannels. Everybody was wearing flannels, and the music was great, but I mean, you know what it did. I don't have to tell everybody what it did. And unfortunately, it put an end to a lot of even successful bands. I shouldn't say it put an end to their career, but it definitely put a speed bump in their career as far as, being on the top of the charts again. So and Roxy never reached that point. We had a video coming out for Times Are Changing. That was going to be our home run hitter. And I saw the layout for it. It was going to be awesome. Yeah. And there was some stuff that happened at It just never came out, never made it. And
I played that last night I host host a radio show on Rock 101 KLOL every week. So last night was a
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, and I play Roxy Blue fairly regularly. Um,
Cool.
I was
Thank
gonna
you.
ask this. Your album came out October 21st of 92. That's
Okay.
basically
I
exactly
remember.
it basically came out 1 year after Smells Like Teen Spirit debuted. A
Cool.
year. Did you, like, when the album was coming out, were you still feeling like, all right, this, or was anybody like, oh shit, has the scene changed too much when the album came out?
Dude, that's a great question. I've never been asked that question, and I do have an answer. Like I said, I remember being out on the road with Wildside. Love those guys.
Oh,
They're still my friends, a great band.
love that
Um,
band.
and so Roxy would be out with them, and then we would like veer off and do other shows. They'd send us to do another show. We'd fly out, then we'd come back to the tour or whatever. Um, we were so focused. I think we all were a little concerned, but I think it was so early in the game
Yeah,
that you didn't really know that it was going to be that big of a deal.
right.
Uh, but it started to be towards that, as we were starting to get out and playing, I think even people that love that music in the Seattle music, they hadn't gravitated all the way yet. So, I mean, we were still getting great shows. People were still enjoying. Of course, Roxy put on a really good live show. So it was fun to watch. I mean, it was fun to play them. But as time went on, I do remember going back. They got us when we got off tour. We got off one of the tours. It was like time to make another record. So Scott, we started doing demos for that, and I think that's when it hit us the most. When it was like, I mean, because record sales were doing really, really good, and we did really good in Japan, and we never got to go over there and play, which we should have, but they were going to cut the budget on us because we weren't the flavor anymore. I mean, Seattle, I mean, as a business decision on all record labels, everybody was gravitating towards the Seattle music, the Guns N' Roses. I mean, Guns N' Roses kind of stood on their own, but you
Yeah,
got Nirvana and Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, just to name three of them, and Soundgarden.
yeah.
Boy, that's a great band. So we started making demos, and Doug actually heard our demos and really liked them. And Scotty and I did a lot of that on our own. We wrote the whole record, and
But was Sid kind of phasing out at that point?
Yeah, Sid had a girlfriend, and Sid had never been in a band. You got to imagine his first band he was ever in got signed to a major record deal,
Yeah,
and we got $500,000 back then just for the record deal, a $400,000 publishing deal, and this is in 1992, man. So that's big,
yeah.
and we're on a tour bus touring the world, or touring the country, and I was calling touring the country in Canada at the time. So, um, so we started making another record. Sid would kind of come in and we'd get him to do a solo, but he was just not. Sid was always me and him. We was hands on all the time, and he got a little distant. And I don't think he meant to get that way. And that's one of my biggest regrets ever is when we parted ways with Sid. And we got my buddy Wayne Sweeney, who
Yep.
passed away. That was my best buddy, but he great guitar player too. And the band changed at that point. And this is kind of answering your question. That's when it kind of hit us that we can't go back and be that band anymore because we're not going to do anything. And Doug Thaler had already told us, hey, you're going to be a tax write-off. They're not going to push this record. They're going to shelve it, but you do have the option to make this record. Well, we recorded with Wayne a little bit, and we had some really good songs. And there's if you hear some of the songs on the F&A stuff, the demos,
Want some more?
Wasted My Time, and there's a few more on there that you could hear the slide. That's Wayne.
Yep.
But I got a call from Jani and said, "Hey, dude, I'm doing a solo deal. The guys are auditioning singers. I told them to call you. I decided to call you. I'm going to fly you out here." So I went out and sang with Warrant for a little bit. I never played live with them, but we recorded some stuff. I think it got released on some underground thing or something. But just still, I have a brotherhood with the guys in Warrant. We're all friends, and I always say, Janie taught me how to drink Cuervo 1800.
Right.
I don't
I
know if
think he
that was
taught
a
a
good
lot of
thing or
people how
not.
to drink Cuervo.
Yeah, man, I got to tell you, man, I was at his house when he wrote. Well, he told me, "Hey, man, I mean, the guys had already played me Uncle Tom's Cabin. They were really excited. I was like, dude, shit is badass." I remember being in, I think it was Eric Turner's Forerunner, or it might have been Jerry Dixon's. I don't know, but they played it for me loud, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is so good." And I remember I was staying with Janie, and he and I went out and we got lit. I was seeing triple. I mean, he was sitting there. I could see like three of him. And he picked up an acoustic guitar and he said, "Yeah, they wanted me to write another song. And what do you think about this?" And he played me Cherry Pie on the acoustic. One of him, there was three of them. They were all singing together, but it was just him. But uh, yeah, so God rest his soul, because he was a great songwriter, man. I mean, that cat was a great songwriter. He was born to be what he was. So
Yeah.
what a tragedy. But
I was
yeah,
gonna, and I'm
so
gonna, I have a couple
go
questions
ahead.
about that Warrant period, but I was gonna ask, like on Want Some, the first single and video was Rob the Cradle. And it's a different time, but I'll just ask this: was everyone on board with that being the first single? And was there any apprehension? Like nowadays, you would never release that song, but was
We
there
don't
any
play that
apprehension
song.
back then?
I don't remember. Honest to God, I don't. I don't remember if,
Yep.
Geffen, we were young, man. I mean, Sid wasn't but like 20, 21 maybe when we got signed. 20, I don't know. I mean, I was 27. I think we're 8 years, 7 or 8 years. Josh was young. Scotty and I were about the same age. So, you know, we all knew times were changing. Everybody knew that was going to be a single.
It
Scotty
was
and
a
I wrote
sure
Nobody
thing,
Knows.
I
I
thought.
thought Nobody Knows was a great.
Oh,
Me and Scotty wrote that one night. But Rob the Cradle, I didn't write the music to that. I walked in the rehearsal room one day and they had written that song and they played it. And I'll never forget, I looked at them and said, "Wow, that's very Van Halen-ish." So I wrote some lyrics to it. And, it turned out to be a cool concept for a video. They got the same guy who did the Anarchy for Motley Crue, that guy who did the video for that.
yep.
And it was a fun time. We played a gig the same night at the same place. I think they had 200 people win a contest or something to come in for the video shoot, and it made it look like a lot of. And then they shot the live show at the end too. At that night, which was jam packed in this theater. Um, but I don't know if I remember if we say yeah or nay on it. I mean, when they come to you and go, "Hey, we're going to use this for the first single, and this is how we're going to do the video," and like,
Yeah.
you're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
well, show me the money."
Right.
So, and we had a
Right.
good time at it. So we just thought, man, this is the beginning of something great. We don't play that song anymore. I mean, my daughter's just turned 19 years old. I just don't think. And we had a long discussion. I remember we were doing a show, um, and we were coming back from a show, and my wife was with me, and I'd already discussed it with the guys, and everybody is pretty cool about it, but they were like, "Man, we get it. I mean, we're all got kids now, and my big deal is I can't drive by the schoolyard in my brand new fancy car because that makes me a pedophile." So I was like, and I remember Kip Winger saying something about it, because my buddy John Roth, I kind of hooked him up with Winger back in the day, or gave him. Kip was they were looking for a guitar player, And because Paul Taylor was leaving.
Yeah.
And I remember he was with Doug Thaler because Doug had signed, Top Rock had signed Winger. And they brought me in the office and I got John on the phone and was like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, dude, how's the record deal going? I'm just sitting around my apartment playing guitar. I'm like, somebody wants to talk to you. And the next thing I know, he's out there doing the video down incognito. So, but I remember Kip saying, and I've talked to John about it. I talked to Kip at NAMM before, but I think it was hard for him to do She's Only 17.
Yeah.
But that was a big hit for them. And so he has to. And I saw a video one time, and John told me that sometimes they'll joke and say she's only 70, But yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but back then it made sense.
Sure.
I mean,
Of
we
course.
were all young.
And I love it.
But
I mean,
it's about what I was going to give is I remember Amy saying, well, don't worry about it. It's just a song. And then I think she thought about it and we talked about it more and more. And I said, well, I'll do it if we get a big encore. People start really wanting to hear that song. I'm not going to let anybody down. We'll play it.
okay.
And then it got to a point where I was like, dude, if I rest my whole career on this one song, then I lose. So I'm making a choice right now. That one's going in the archives. If you want to hear it, throw on your record, crank it up, dance around the room. But I don't want to play it anymore. So there's plenty. I've got plenty of other songs. So yeah, that's where that stands.
Okay. In 93, right around 93, maybe 94, like Jani leaves Warrant. You just said you get this call. Hey, I'm going solo. The guys in Warrant are looking for somebody. First of all, are you like, holy shit? Of course I'll come try out for Warrant. And were the Roxy Blue guys, were they disappointed that you were like, hey, I'm going to go try this out?
Well, I don't know if they were disappointed or not. I don't really remember that. I remember I went to him and said, hey man, we all knew that we had just been told by Doug, hey man, you're kind of going to be treading water on this record. Okay. So, it wasn't anything to shoot for at that time. So when I got that call, I was looking at it as I'm going to go check it out. That's what I told him. I'm going to go check it out. I'm not quitting the band. Okay. I'm just going to go check it out. And they were actually, if I remember right, I think they were pretty supportive of just like, you owe it to yourself to check it out. So I took some songs out there with me, and that I'd been working on. And, we kind of hybrid some stuff they had, and we got in and played, and it was fun. And, I remember Tommy Lee at Doug Thaler's house said, hey, Todd, he picked me up and he was like, dude, these are good songs and stuff, but look, man, that band's always going to be Jani's band, it's at that time. And he was honest with me. He said, Roxy's a great band, but you never made it big enough to where you can't reinvent yourself. And I kind of took those words as, I was listening to him. It's Tommy Lee, and he was a cool guy. I mean, Tommy was cool. I mean, I know he was a big rock star, but he was just a good guy, and I loved hanging out with him. But I was like, I took those words and said, you're right, I can. And I came home. I told the guys, look, I got to go home, man. I've got to go home. No hard feelings. And it was cool. It was super cool. And I came home, and my son was born. And so that was a weird time. It was fun. Everything. It was just, I had so much going on in my life back then. It was like, if I wasn't doing this, I'm doing this. I mean, it was like, it was a whirlwind. And I think after that, that's when I picked up the guitar, because I had stuff I wanted to get out there. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to start picking the guitar up. I mean, I wasn't an idiot to the guitar, but I was close. But I just started picking it up and writing songs. And I put together a band called Screaming Jesus. And I wrote a song per night for rehearsal. And I was just into it. I was in a zone. I was writing these really cool songs. And then, that band ended up breaking up. And I think um, after that is when Wayne, Wayne Sweeney saw me playing in that band. And he said, Todd, I'm not trying to break your band up, but if you ever decide you want to get together and do something, let me know.
Okay.
And me and Wayne were childhood friends. We played together many years. So that kind of sparked, and I called Wayne up. We got together. I built a studio at my house. It was soundproof, underground. It was more of a rehearsal room, but we gutted the 2 rooms and made it was underground. It was the house, the way the house was. So we soundproofed it, and that's where Saliva started. Wayne and I started playing, and I was still playing guitar and singing, and the drummer was the singer for that band TNA that fired me.
Okay.
But he was going through a custody battle. And I kind of commended him on it because he was like, man, I really need to be there. And I'm like, dude, I get it. So, I mean, because my little boy was like, at the time, my son was like 3 or 4 or 3, something like that. He was little. Yep. So Wayne and I would stay up all night, probably doing cocaine or something, or drugs. We were just crazy back then.
Yep.
And we would stay up all night because you couldn't hear anything we were doing at night. Of course, the houses weren't real close together where I lived, but you could play as loud as you wanted. And I got on the drums, and we would just start writing stuff and playing all night long. And then somebody suggested, hey, you should call Josie up. He's out of Blackbone now. You should call him up. So anyway, that's how Saliva got started. Okay. And I will say this, people go, man, you got Roxy Blue going, you got Saliva going, and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, but man, you know what? The thing that those 2 bands had in common is the fact that we practiced our butts off, man.
Right.
5 nights a week, if not more, because we had a goal and we were going for it. And if you're going to do something, you got to go for it. And that's the one thing that, I always look at rehearsal like a gig. I just love playing music. So I love to rehearse. There were guys that I played with in the past that would be like, are we rehearsing really? I was like, dude, I look forward to it. I can't wait to get to rehearsal, man. My whole day is all I think about is getting to rehearsal. Even if I had a job, I was like, I can't wait for this day to end. I can go jam, Yeah. So I think, after the Saliva thing, I had a bad motorcycle record. A lot of people want to know what, I was really into road racing. I had a Yamaha R1, and I hit a telephone pole one night at 90 miles an hour. And by the grace of God, I'm here because I should be dead. Yep. And so that kind of put a hamper to everything. And so.
Can I back up one second?
Yeah.
So you were singing, you're playing guitar. You decide to go behind the kit because there's an issue with your drummer. Josie Scott comes in. Were you disappointed? Were you like, man, I'm used to being the front guy, and now and I know you started as a drummer, but were you disappointed in going back behind the kit for Saliva?
Man, I think at that point I kind of dug it because I wanted to make good music, whatever it took. And I knew I could always go back and write and whatever, but I just wanted to see what it would be like. And I enjoyed playing the drums. So it kind of got me back into that. And, it started to click, man. It's like we got Dave, and then we actually played a gig, and Chris DeBaldo came and saw us play. And I think he wanted to see me play drums. And then he ended up joining. So, it just clicked, and the music was really good. So I didn't really look at it like, I'd rather be up front. It was kind of a breath of fresh air for me to kind of like get away from being the front the face of the band and just kind of be in the back and play music. And so yeah, that was a lot of fun to do that, I think. And because and then by doing that, I went to play with my father-in-law, Jimmy Jamison. I got a gig with him playing drums, and we were doing stuff overseas and everything. I mean, I remember playing a big cricket stadium in Trinidad and Tobago, and it was like an old cricket stadium, and it was jam packed, man. I mean, it was crazy. We were doing a gig with Rick Springfield, Richard Marx, and uh, oh my
Just some
God,
big names.
yeah, but who is the headliner? Michael Bolton.
Oh, okay.
So it was huge. It was
Yeah.
huge, man. And it was, and the guys in our band was Jimmy, Barry Dunaway, who plays with 38 Special now, playing bass, Jerry Riggs, who was with Riggs, who plays with 38 Special now on guitar, and Hal Butler on keyboards. It was a phenomenal band, and then this young cat in the back playing drums, and I did that for a long time. Of course, my father-in-law passed away on my birthday, and I was on my way to his house when we had the news for my party, and we had plans for a new tour. So at that point, I was like, I got to do something else, and I started a band called 714. So, and that band was not a band at first. I went in the studio with the drummer Jimmy Fulp. He had a home studio, and I had some songs written. So I went in and I called him and said, will you record a couple of my songs? Can I come in and record? He's like, yeah. So I played the drums, and then I went back and played the guitar on them, and I just pretty much did the whole song. And after about 3 or 4 of them were done, he looked at me and said, dude, are you putting a band together? And I'm like, I thought you'd never ask. And then that's how 714 got started, which is probably one of my all-time favorite bands I was ever in.
I'm just gonna ask one more question about Saliva, and then I
Yeah.
got a couple about 714. And I'm sure like I don't want to ask this like it's a negative, but you have your motorcycle wreck. And so in 99 you leave, you put out the one album in 97. In 2000 they signed to Island Records, and then that Every 6 Seconds album comes out and it's a big success. Was
Yeah.
that difficult for you? I mean, I don't know. Like, was that hard for you to see and to miss that?
It was completely difficult for me to see, especially knowing that 5 songs that I co-wrote were on the record and I didn't get any credit for it. It was heartbreaking because I'm in my hometown, and it was a lot more to it than that, but it was not to get into this, but I had to sue the man, dude.
I heard there was a dispute, so yeah, I'll take whatever you tell me about it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I feel like telling, because I'm still friends with everybody now, and we've kind of gotten past it, but
Yep.
it kind of hurt my, and I don't know that I think the band got caught up in a whirlwind, knowing them, and I think they got caught up in a whirlwind, and I don't think they were looking at it as backstabbing me. I don't think they were looking at it that way. I just think that they were going to make it. I mean, they had, but I recorded every rehearsal, and I had 200 freaking cassettes in a duffel bag. And I spent 7 years in this dispute, and I won.
Okay.
And I didn't win what I wanted, but I won, and I think everybody came out okay on it. We've talked about it, and Josie was the savior in that. Josie came to his deposition was 2 weeks later, but I mean, he flat out said I wrote a bunch of songs. So I mean, and I hated that went down that way, but I copywrote everything that I did, and I still do. And I'm glad I do, because when you write a song, and granted, I didn't write the whole song. I mean, I only wrote I write all of them now, but during that period of time, I wrote songs, and some people would say, "Well, you were the drummer." It doesn't matter, man. You can hear me on tape saying, "Hey," and humming this out. Hey, this is needs to be like this. Well, but I'm not trying to take away from those guys, man. They did a fantastic job, and they came out, and Josie's a fantastic writer. He's a super great human being. They all are. They're all really good people, and I had a blast playing with those guys. And now a lot of people have asked me, dude, do you regret leaving that band?
Right.
And I could say yes, but I have to say no. And the reason I say no is because if I would have been, and this is honest, because trust me, I've thought about it many years. I don't think about it much anymore, but I would have never met my wife. I'd have never had my daughter. I would have never, I would have missed out on so many things that are important to me in my life right now. So I have to say things happen for a reason, and whatever that reason is, it is. And, life is what it is. And I'm glad that I made the decision I made, because I think I'd much rather be married to my wife and have my beautiful daughter and be able to watch my son grow up than be in Saliva. So, and with all that being said, Saliva's not really Saliva anymore, is
Right.
it? I like Bobby. He's my friend and stuff, but there's no one in Saliva anymore.
Right.
And then Josie's got his thing,
Yep.
but he's the only guy.
Yep.
But he is the voice of the hits.
Yep.
So I've been asked that question too, and I have no comment. That is not a battle I want to be involved with.
Sure. You mentioned you and Wayne staying up all night and writing songs. So I just want to ask this way, like, was there a point ever in those years where you were like, hey, this is becoming an issue, or do you feel like, you know what, I had it under control?
You talking about the drugs?
Right.
Oh, no. Back then it was like me and Wayne were like, if we couldn't get the drugs that night, we decided we weren't going to rehearse. We'd call rehearsal off. I hate saying that, but the truth be known, I'm not trying to degrade me and Wayne or trying to act like and trying to promote drugs at
Absolutely.
all. I'm just saying that's how we were, but we didn't never let it really. It never hampered our playing for whatever reason. But I got over it. You know what I mean? I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get over that. And we and Wayne talked about it a lot, because I know he was kind of getting away too.
Yep.
And Wayne had a lot of peer pressure on him just for the fact that he lived on the road his whole life, and just tired. But no, that was that's like 1990, what, 4 and 5 and 6, something like right around in there. And I don't think I regret any of that either. I'll be honest with you, it was fun as shit, man. And but I do regret some of the things, just for the simple fact that, as a father now, I look back, man, I probably shouldn't have been doing that, but I did. Right. And you can't erase time, like I said earlier. So I learned from things I did, and sometimes I'm glad I did certain things in my life, which is a lot. So I know what not to do, and I learned by it, and I know the repercussions of how things can grab you and take hold of you. And I'm an extremist, so when I get into doing something, I do it fully. I don't dabble. I don't do anything anymore. I'm a good guy now. I was a good guy then, but yeah, I'm funny how life kind of takes over and you get responsibilities, and it's weird because it's kind of wild. When you get older, there's a lot of things that make you want to do that stuff because you just want to escape from all the mayhem. But I
went to rehab in 2004, so I
all about it.
So I'm not judging anything. Fuck, I know.
Do you know why I went to rehab? And you know why? One of the reasons I quit It's one of the drugs I was doing. Is because when it was my time to speak, I had my little poker chip,
Yep.
and I was, hey, my name's Todd Poole, and I'm addicted to this and this and this and this. And nobody was listening. And I yelled, hey, and all these people turned around, and half of them didn't have any teeth, and it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, oh my God, I do not want to lose my teeth. So I quit right then and there. Right then and there. And I was knee deep. And I always tell people, I think rehab is a good way to get started. But initially, in the end, if you can get help to get to the point, you have to decide on your own that you have to not do this. And it's a lot of willpower, and it's good to have somebody there to help you along with that. And everybody's different, so I don't judge anybody.
No.
Everybody's personalities are different. I have a very strong personality, and in the end, you have to have the will to yourself to say, hey, do you want to live or die? Because that's really what it boils down to in so many ways. And I chose to live. So I'm not gonna say that I haven't since that time when I'm telling you that I had quit everything, but I quit some of the hard stuff I was doing.
Yeah.
But I dabbled after that a little bit here and there for just partying.
Yep.
And then I just got to a point where it was like, it wasn't worth the risk. I've got way too much to lose. The older you get, you never know if you're going to have a heart attack or not.
Oh.
So to go do a half a 8-ball or something is probably not a good idea. So, and I don't smoke weed, and everybody around me smokes weed, and I just don't smoke it because I don't know. I got over it. I just don't smoke weed, and all my friends smoke pot. I just don't smoke pot.
I'm just going to throw this. There was a Metal Sludge article, and if you don't want to talk about it, but
I'll talk about it. Go ahead. I'll tell you all about it.
In 2023, that said there was some legal issues, so I'll just stop there, and you can say what you want.
Stevie pissed me off, actually. And the reason he did is that I understand he has a job to do, and that's his job. And if you get in trouble, I talked to him, and he's like, you shouldn't have done that. But all I was saying is, before you put it out there, know the facts.
Okay.
And then I started thinking, well, hell, I must be big enough for them to put it out there. It made me feel but then I was like, I have a wife and I have kids. My son's grown, but they're what I'm worried about being affected. I can handle it. That's what hurt me the most. And I don't hold it against him, Stevie. I don't. Steve Rochelle, I know that's a magazine, and I know he has to do that. And I'm not a grudge guy. I don't hold grudges or nothing like that. I was pretty upset about it at the time that he put it out there. But, he's probably right. I shouldn't have done it. But I think I was more upset. It's like, man, get the facts before you just throw it out there, because I started getting all these response from people going, I hope you're okay. And, like I was a drug addict. I wasn't a drug addict, okay? Let me set the record straight. Through my life, I had a motorcycle wreck, and I've done hard labor a lot in my life. I do tile and marble. I have my own company doing that. And I've done a lot of hard labor. And you get off tour, and you don't have a job, and you don't have any money, and you don't have a college education. You start learning how to build shit. You know what I'm talking about? So building houses and whatever. So I've had a lot of hard labor. So I got hit in the rear end on my other Tahoe I had by a guy who was going 50 miles an hour, hit me in the rear, and I was at a dead stop, and it hurt my back even more. I knew somebody that had some hydrocodones. I needed them for my back. I went and picked them up, and they were watching their house. And I got busted, okay? And I'll just tell them, I got a felony, okay? And I was facing, this first time I've ever told anybody this. So I'm facing 20 years in prison, okay? So you don't think I'm stressed out every day of my life? I am. But I went to court after 3 years, I went to court, and the felonies have been dropped.
Okay.
I'm good to go as long as I pass a drug test for the next year and a half. then my felony's dropped and I'm good to go. So I'm not worried about that because I'll pass it. It's put me through a lot of fines. It's put me through a lot of heartache. It put my family through a lot of stress, and it hurt my bank account pretty much because I got the best lawyer I could get in Mississippi. This happened in Mississippi, not in Tennessee where I live. So that's where it got worse. I went across the line.
Okay.
But everything's working out. It wasn't a really good looking mug shot. I get it. I'd been up for, I mean, I wasn't partying though.
Yeah.
And that pissed me off even more because my back was still hurting and I never had a chance to eat one of them. But I quit doing those the day I got busted. And I started exercising and said, look, I thought I needed them. I mean, I did them because of my back. And it's funny how doctors can get you on that. And then when they turn their back, they leave you out there and you're used to them. If people that have never done those pills, God bless you. But if you do those pills, you can't just stop. Well, my wife told me you can't just stop those. You could die. And I know somebody who died from just stopping cold turkey.
Yeah.
I stopped cold turkey. And I told my wife, I've done enough things in my life that would kill me. If this kills me, it's meant to be, but I'm not winging down. I don't know how to wing down. Okay. I'm going to just stop.
Right.
I stopped and I went through about 2 weeks of hell. And then I'm good, man. I don't think about it anymore. Only time I think about it is when I did a piss test and the guy asked me, what are you in here for? And I told him, probably the only time I've mentioned the word. So to go back to what Rochelle said, I'm not mad at him anymore about it. I mean, I was just mad at the time.
Sure.
But I also told him this. I said, look, dude, I know you have a job to do. I'm a guy who played music in the same scene that Steve was in, with Tough.
Yep.
So I'm like, I get it. So for you to even mention me means I must have scratched the surface somewhere, because if I was a nobody, then you wouldn't have ever brought it up. But the fact of the matter is that he did what he had to do because he's trying to have stories for his magazine and everything. And I get that. So he's just trying to, it's just a journalist, he's trying to get what he's got to get. At the time, I wasn't looking at it that way. I was looking at it like, oh my God, dude, what are you doing to me, man? And I probably did hurt a few things, but I can't erase time. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It happened, and I'm dealing with it, and I'm in a different place now. So I'm good, man. I'm looking for phase 2.
I appreciate you opening up, and I know that's not easy. Like I said, I mean, and it's not about me, but I went through my period where, it was and it took a while to like build my reputation back up, because my reputation was, you can't, I mean, it was shot for a number of years anyway.
Anthony, I'm glad you asked me that, because I wanted to get on social media and kind of tell my story.
Yep.
And then I thought, man, it just sounds like I'm trying to backtrack and I don't want anybody to think bad of me, which I don't.
Right.
But I thought my fans and my friends and everything, it's like, but I did notice as time went on, I've noticed that I get treated different sometimes, I was like I'm still the same person just because, that happened to me. So I kind of stayed hush hush about it. I thought, man, I'm not gonna respond to the people that, everybody was pretty supportive, saying, hey, hope you're okay, hope you get well, crap like that, because they don't know the whole story. And I wanted to respond and tell my story. And I thought, dude, I just can't do that, man. I'm just going to have to let it play itself out. And this is a perfect opportunity for me to just kind of set the record straight of what happened, what's going on. I was scared to death. I'm still not scared, but I'm not worried. My lawyers, we've already kind of gone through it. And if everything stays the way there is, then, I don't have to worry about it, because I'll pass every piss. I mean, I could do a pee test every day. Right. It wouldn't matter. But But when somebody tells you that they changed the laws and that I was facing 3 to 20 years, it does wake you up a little bit.
Sure.
And I mean,
Sure.
you're thinking, man, I'm not going to see my. When I went to court the other day, I was thinking, man, I'm not going to see my little. I mean, they could have taken me right then, and they didn't. And I wouldn't have seen my daughter graduate this year. I would have missed out on a lot of my life, and I'm grateful to God that He's kind of turned me around and made me where, okay, look, man, we're not gonna worry about that anymore. Take it day by day, and that's what I do, and just try to be the best person I can be, try to make the best music I can make.
I think you're going to get a lot of goodwill from because people are rooting for you and us and anyone who has
Thank
struggled
you.
with that.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of helps the average person who hasn't struggled to go, oh, okay. And you talk about your love of your family anyway. So I'm glad
Yeah,
you
I
came
get it.
on,
I
and
get it. Yeah.
so
Well, I mean, yeah. Thanks for. I mean, it don't hurt me to bring, and I've touched on a few subjects today that I usually don't talk about. The saliva thing, I don't like to talk too much about that because
yeah.
uh, that was a personal thing between us, and it wasn't something I was proud of, and I'm sure it was something they weren't proud of, and so we don't ever talk about it anymore. But it's okay because the truth is what it is. They didn't do anything really wrong. I didn't do anything really wrong. It just what is what it is. And then the thing with my charges and stuff, I mean, it's just a part of life, and it's just another chapter to my story. So
Yep.
oh well.
And we were talking about 714. So
Yeah.
I didn't know about 714 until because I thought I kept up with you pretty well, but you were like, hey, you should check out this project 714. And maybe I'd heard of it before, but so I go down the 714 rabbit hole. And you had two albums out with them, right? One in 2010
Correct.
and one in 2012. A
Right.
self a self-titled record and American Tragic.
An
So I've
American Tragic.
been listening to that for the last, and I'll just say right now, the song Bulletproof. Oh my
Oh, that's on
God.
the first one. Yeah.
So that's on the first one. So I've been listening to that. So anyway, like I'd love to. So you kind of started out talking about that. Tell me about putting those albums out and what happened with that band.
Man, I just wrote a bunch of. So I worked at the first record. I worked at I started doing tile when I started doing tile and stuff, and then one of the guy I was working for opened a showroom, and he's like, "Man, I need somebody to kind of run it." He was in the middle of nowhere, so he told me, "Bring your acoustic guitar, and during the day when you're not doing anything, write," because he was going to put some money behind me to go in the studio. So that's what I did, man. I wrote these songs, and then I got some guys together, which was not the American Tragic 714. The band was actually called Stiff Kitty. And uh, so I wrote this record, and then I went in the studio with Jason Latshaw was producing it, great producer, and did the first record. My cousin Ronnie, who played the beginning Roxy, I brought him
Yeah.
back,
Okay.
and he was the drummer. And that record turned out really good. We worked really hard on it. It was the first record, and I wrote all these songs. Went in, said, "This is what I got." I put them together with the guys. We went in there and recorded them. A guy named Scott Jones played guitar with me on it. Did all the leads. He's super talented, great guy. Then we went, and then John Snyder, I think, was the bass player on that. And then that kind of fell apart. And I didn't want it to, but it did. And that's when I went in to cut the songs at Jimmy Fulp's place for the new songs I had. And I said, I'm going to call this band. Why it changed names is because it was Stiff Kitty. And I was like, I just don't know if I want the word kitty in there, whatever. And now that I look back, it was a pretty cool name because it's punk rock. But anyway, I changed it to Rail. And then I had a guy in New York that loved the song Stand Alone. And he was like, we want to play it. I got you on a big radio station in New York. They want to play it. but they can't because there's a band that got in contact and said that there's a band called Rail that was on MTV Basement Tapes, and they're still active because I'm scared they'll put a cease and desist on it. So I said, well, how long do I have? He said 24 hours if you wanted to go on this big radio station. So I'm like, fuck. So anyway, I called it 714, and then I ended up cutting American Tragic, and I cut that with Jimmy Fulp, and then a guy named Dave Cowell mixed it, and he's the guy. I don't know, a lot of people out there, probably not your fans, but there's a band called Sleep Theory that's out there right now out of Memphis, and he cut them, and so we did American. 714 was a great band, and then it kind of just fizzled, man. It had some issues that happened, and I'm not going to get into those. But so at that point, I was like, and not to just ramble on, but there was a show coming up. So we got asked, Roxy said, look, everybody, Rick Rule's my friend who plays with Every Mother's Nightmare. He's a good friend of mine, and he kept going, dude, you need to get Roxy back together, Todd. And I was like, no, dude, I'm not going to go through that. And I know Sid's a dentist now. He's not going to do it. I tried to get him, but I almost had him, but no. Okay. And then, so Scotty T and I and Josh, and we got Wayne. Wayne wanted to do it. He was in Saliva, but he's like, Todd, I want to do it. I'm like, okay. So we were rehearsing. We got asked to do a show with Bret Michaels. And I was like, okay, cool. We were in the rehearsal studio actually rehearsing, and my phone rang, and the same number kept calling me. And I'm like, hey. So I finally answered it. And it was Nick Teeter from Frontiers. And he said, hey, we just signed Tora Tora. We want to know if you guys were interested. We want to sign you guys. And we had nothing to lose, man. You know, I was like, well, hell, I guess so. Yeah. So they said, this is how much money we'll give you, and you can do a record. And I'm like, well, there's one stipulation. My father-in-law was on Frontiers, and I don't want to be told how to make a record. In other words, a lot of those records to me sounded alike. Yep. And he said, no, you have free reign. Do what you want. I'm like, cool. So they said they'd give us a video budget, and we ended up putting some more money in, and we got 2 videos out of it. Yeah. And then the song we have on that record, How Does It Feel, ended up being a pretty big radio song here in Memphis. So, I mean, it was a good record. We enjoyed doing it. So then Wayne obviously couldn't stay. So we ended up getting a guy named Jeff Codron, who plays with me now. He was with a band called Full Devil Jacket. Yeah. The 2019 that's a lot of story there, ain't it? No, that's fine. I'll take all I can get. The 2019 Roxy Blue album, people should go check out. You put videos out for Rockstar Junkie, which is fantastic. How Does It Feel is amazing. Yeah. Collide, Blinders, like holy shit. There's a ton of great stuff on that record. Now I was gonna ask, you like Collide? Because that's Josh is just man. Collide, man. Whoa. It's awesome. So I wrote that song Blinders about my father. My father passed away of Parkinson's after 16 years. And the song's really not I think pretty much a lot of people feel the same way I felt when this happened. But I think the thing that scared me the most about when he died is if he was lonely or not. You know, you always wonder, did I spend enough time with him? You know, it's the common question people ask themselves. And I remember I was sitting on my bed and the TV was on, but nothing was on the TV. It was like a white screen or whatever. I mean, I don't know. Something was blank. It was weird. But I remember just being in the room, and you almost leave yourself. And I'm just thinking, you know, and the first line is the truth, you know. Here I lie awake at night. The TV screen's the only light, you know, and that was it. And the whole song is just, man, if I were to have a chance to see you again, I would not leave your side. I would, you know, and that's what everybody wants. And you will see him again. I know that. But so that song was pretty personal. That was Jimmy Fulp who played with. That was his favorite one we did. But Yeah, man, that record, I wrote like crazy on that record, and I was pretty tired after I wrote that record. That was a brain hemorrhage doing that record. Um, but it was fun. It was
Right.
fun. So
And this is kind of going back, but how did you get hooked up with Doc from FNA? Because you released Want Some More, Stripped, and a live album that you can find on fnarecords.net. So how did that deal come about?
well, I met Doc in Nashville, and I'm trying to I remember kind of I think I was we were there for something, and I met him, and he said who he was, and he's kind of wasn't. I kind of went on about my deal, and then he contacted me and kind of told me if I could meet him in Nashville, he wanted to talk to me, and Scotty and I basically did that whole thing. And
Yeah.
what it is, they're demos.
Yeah.
Everything was demo,
Yeah.
and now the one on Want Some More. That was some pretty damn good demos. That was stuff a lot of Deco Lyrics did that stuff. But you know, the stripped, some of that stuff we did live on the radio.
Yeah.
Was just kind of like radio songs we played live over the air. Man, I sound like I'm like 12 years old on some of it. I mean, I had that high squeaky voice. Uh, so I listen to that and I'm just like, God, I'm so young on that. But and those were a lot of those were before we got signed, you know, like right when we started. And then of course the live was at Night Moves, a popular club that used to be here. Um, it, so we hooked up with him, and they sold great, man.
Yeah.
They did them as package deals.
Yep.
In fact, they've sold out of pretty much all of them. I think
Yep.
they might have a few of one of them left. So he said they're not making anymore. We're still with them, but we've been with them. We were with them for years.
Yeah.
And I always said, why not?
Yeah.
Because you know, for the avid fan, they might want to hear stuff like that. And you know, they paid us pretty good to do it. So
Sure.
and they made our t-shirts and came to our gigs and sold our shirts. And I mean, I really like FNA. Everybody
Yeah.
there is awesome, and
Totally.
Doc's just he's a great friend of mine still. He's just a I don't say that about a lot of people, but he's he's been there for me, man, and he's a really good guy, and he's got a really good company, and I've stuck with him. You know, he's asked me if I was going to leave the company, and I'm like, no. I mean, there's no why leave something that's still rolling. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really collect a whole lot from them anymore, and I might this year. I'm not sure, but they've been really good to me. So yeah, it's a good company.
I was supposed to see Jimmy Jamison not long before he passed away, and then all this it was like
Yeah,
it was a shock. I mean, the guy
yeah,
was still out playing. He looked great. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, he had had some. He had had a couple mini strokes. Hell, I've had a mini stroke. Um, it's scary.
really.
Um, yeah, and I'm healthy, man. I mean,
You look like you're in great shape.
I could still, yeah, I'm in pretty good shape. I mean, I've always stayed in pretty good shape. I've got a real high metabolism, so
Yeah.
but I mean, I can eat a box of donuts and you know, but yeah, Jimmy was in pretty good shape, man, and he was looking forward to that tour, and I just think he had a mishap, you know. But I can't. I'm really not allowed to talk about that, so I don't know. There's a lot of things about that, but I miss him, man.
Yeah.
I miss him a lot. So yeah,
Okay.
my wife, it was really close to her dad, so
Yeah.
that was hard on. And what makes it worse for us is that he died on my birthday, September 1st, and he was buried on her birthday, September 5th.
Oh my.
So it's all bittersweet, but
Yeah.
we honor him and we love him, and you know what a great talent he
Oh.
was, and just God, man. I mean, he'd come over and sing Christmas songs at Christmas, and Now, I told him one day, I said, man, why don't we just record this and make a record, dude? Because it sounds, you're doing Jingle Bells, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody do Jingle Bells that good.
I think he
So,
is one of the iconic voices of the 80s, not to single
absolutely.
out to the 80s, but
Absolutely. I agree with you on that for sure.
around 2016, you were managing or mentoring a band called Under
Oh,
the Radar that was like teenage kids, and they have some stuff
well,
on YouTube that's really good.
man, they were barely teenagers, man. They were,
Yeah.
so I got a call. I went to school. I grew up actually on Stone Street, a street called Stone Street. I grew up with this guy named Bobby Ireland, childhood friends, and his son was in a band with these other two guys, and they were like little bitty kids, man. I'm talking like 12 and 13 years old. And he said, man, will you come over and listen to them? And maybe the parents will pay you to mentor them and help them. And I was like, dude, I'm just not interested. I just, and then he kept calling me and said, dude, please, Todd. So I went over there and I listened to these cats play, and they played, dude, they were 12 and 13 years old, and they're playing YYZ and by Rush, and they're playing Devil Went Down to Georgia, and they're playing some cover songs, and they played Stranglehold. And man, I could not believe what I was hearing. These kids they're like kids, man. You know what I mean? So I took on the task and said, look, I can't really teach you how to write a song. So what I'll do is I'll write your first record for you. And as I'm writing the record, watch what I'm doing and just try to learn, because I don't know if anybody can actually teach you how to write a record, but you can learn how to write a record within yourself or write a song, because it has to be emotionally good. You could do a formatted, hey man, I'm going to
Yeah.
do you an intro, but just, it's all got to be from the heart if you're going to write a great song. So anyway, I wrote their first record for them.
Okay.
And dude, I got those kids out everywhere. I told the singer, they started growing up a little bit. And I talked to the parents, and I was like, look, man, if you're going to let me do this, you got to let me do this. Okay. And they were really cool. So little Zeke, badass guitar player, man. He was the youngest. I think he was about 14 years old at the time,
Right.
13 or 14. I said, dude, you got to grow your hair out. You got a little baby fat on you. You got to get slim. Because he's short. And he did. I was like, dude, you have to trust me. And I said this in front of his parents, man. And I'm like, look, just trust me. Worst case scenario, you cut your hair. But I had a vision, and that cat had long black hair, and he thanked me for that, because it drew people in. I'm like, sometimes mystique's good, man. They can't see your face, man. They're seeing this little kid on stage, and he was a freaking awesome player and still is. And they all became just great players, man. And I got them in the Ryman opening up for Loverboy. I got them.
Okay.
Mike Reno's a friend of mine through my father-in-law. So, man, I got them playing so many cool shows, man. I got them opening up I think I got them to open up for LA Guns. I got them opening up for a lot of people, and they got to where people were coming to their shows, man. They were kind of a big deal. And then I knew the day would end if we couldn't get them a record deal, which I don't think they were ready for a deal. They did a second record, and I kind of wrote but they kind of wrote some songs on their own, and they turned out to be pretty good. But two of them went to college.
Okay.
And
Yep.
and that's it. And now they're all grown up. I mean, they're men. I mean, they're young men, but I don't talk to them that much. I've seen
Sure.
Zeke, and I've talked to him online a couple of times.
Okay.
But I've talked to Zeke. Zeke came. I did a show with Josie Scott. Roxy actually backed him up at a show a couple years ago, and Zeke came to the show, and I let him get on stage with me and Josie and play, which he loved.
Sure.
I think he did Your Disease with us or something.
Okay.
Or something. No, I think I got on drums and he did Cellophane. Wrapped in cellophane. So yeah, but yeah, that was a lot of fun to do those with those cats. But all I could do was teach them, and I kept telling them, man, I got, one of the parents got mad at me one time because one of the boys cried, and I'm like, look, let me tell you something. I get it, and I'm a good, honest person, but if you're gonna be, if they want to be in the music business, they have to have thick skin. If they get upset by every little negative thing that hits them, then this is not their way of doing it.
Yep.
They don't need to do this because I remember I've got the only review that ever hurt me in my whole life. Oh my gosh, this was horrible. We were on the road and the review came in from a magazine or some guy, and it said, "Want some? I don't think so." And it absolutely crushed me. And to come to find out, it was a guy who never even heard the record.
Right.
And he just didn't like the cover.
Right.
And, back then we did it for fun, but we got a lot of crap. That's why they changed the cover to the back where the splits. They changed that because of all the sexual harassment that was going on and stuff, so
Yeah.
we lived in the day back in the day when people were just having fun with it, I mean, look at the Scorpions or whatever with the tit with the gum on it and shit. I mean, ain't nobody gonna be able to do that shit now.
Everybody's too uptight these days. I'm serious.
Very uptight, man. Very uptight. So
drives me up a wall. Was there any chance of continuing your relationship with Frontiers after the 2019 album, or was it always just a one-off deal?
Nah, man, they dropped us, dude. Or we just kind of had an agreement with. So, and I'll put this out there because I really don't care anymore. I don't like to get political, but I grew up in the day where you didn't. My parents never told anybody who they voted for, and that's how I grew up. Yep. But I really didn't care. But I know that our country was. I'm smoking, but
that's all right. Shit, smoke.
I know our country was in a. It still is fucked up. But anyway, I saw a post by Ted Nugent. And I liked the post. I did. I mean, so I started getting all these hate things, or some of them were cool, saying, "Oh yeah, Todd, you're friends with Ted Nugent." No, I'm not friends with Ted Nugent. I mean, I just thought what he said was right on.
Sure.
So I freaking shared it, and I never do that, but I shared it. I do not sway anybody towards their opinions. I think people should have their own opinion on every level. You're your own person. I don't think somebody should be able to tell you what you can and can't do and who you should vote for and who you should not vote for and whether you should have a baby or whether you shouldn't have a baby. I mean, I don't care. Okay. Yeah. But I shared it. And Frontiers is in Italy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of bad shit was going on about all that. I can't remember now, but
sure.
And this is the only thing I can think of, because let me tell you something. I wrote some badass songs for the next record, and I had a demo, and me and Jimmy did the demo, and it was badass. And so Jimmy said, "Well, look, I've got to go out of town. I'm going to send it to him, and by the time I land, maybe I'll have an answer." And I just knew it was a hit. I mean, it was a demo, but the 3 or 4 songs he sent were freaking great, I thought. I mean, for what we were up against, I thought they were really good. And and knowing they were just demos, and we sent it to them, and they responded and said, we're done. We're over with them. And all I could think is Nick Teeter just kind of, and like I said, I'm not here to talk bad about anybody, but Nick Teeter just kind of, it wasn't a good relationship anymore. It was turned his back and all that. And I think a lot of that had to do is I saw where he was anti-Trump. And I think that post that I put out was pro-Trump. Obviously, it's Ted Nugent.
Yep.
And it made me look like, and it's a sad thing when something like that has to affect someone's livelihood. And I wasn't really worried about it. I told him, whatever, I mean,
I totally hear you, man.
who cares? I mean, if that's the way you feel, fine. I mean, I don't want to be on a label with somebody who's like that anyway, but I thought I had a great relationship with them. I was a little upset about one thing, which kind of helped me make up my mind of not being worried about it. I thought for sure everybody in their mother had a vinyl of that record, and they did not send me. I wrote the freaking record, and the company didn't even send me a record. They wanted me to buy my own record. And that right there told me I'm not into that.
No,
I mean, really, you get it?
Holy fuck.
That upset me. So, but I mean, I'm not pointing a finger to say there was one person, but they should have at least said, hey, man, let's send Todd a record. I mean, he wrote the record.
Yeah.
It's on there who wrote the record. So don't make this guy buy his own record.
Right.
So
no,
I still don't have a vinyl of those two records. So they said their policy changed. They have to recoup their money before a band gets vinyl, unless you're a White Snake or a big band like that in your contract. And we recouped. We got a red record and a blue record. So I didn't get either one, and I still don't. But every time I go to my friend's house, I see them sitting up on the thing, It's not a big deal to me. I'm moving on to the next record now.
So okay, so you have these songs. Like, are we looking at a way to put out a new Roxy Blue record?
We are. We're working on some stuff right now. None of the songs I wrote for that second record are going to be on. I move on. I'm like, okay, I'm burnt on that. I'm done. I don't even. There's probably still in the archive somewhere, so in Jimmy's studio, but and I might get a few of them, but we've got some good. I've got a song called Sign of the Times. It's really, really cool. The new lineup is Chris Cook on drums, Josh Weil on bass, me and Jeff Carter on guitar.
Okay.
And we've got some really good stuff, and we've got a show coming up with Brother Kane May 2nd in Bald Knob, Arkansas with Brother Kane. Every Mother's Nightmare is going to be on the show too.
Yep.
It's called Strawberry Jam, so that should be a really good show. And we're looking to maybe get in the studio before then, and like we're trying to decide. I think eventually we will put a record out, but I think at first we're just going to release singles.
Okay.
And just kind of see, at least in the beginning,
and
see how they go over. They're really good songs, man. I'm really happy with the material. And I'm also, I know nobody knows this, but I'll just go ahead and tell you. So I'm working on something with another friend of mine who's named Sean Few, who's a really good artist. And so he AI'd a couple of my old songs back in the day that were unreleased.
Okay.
And he did it as a joke at Thanksgiving. He said, oh, man, check this out. And they were country. Progressive country, though, not like old school country. And, dude, they're really good, dude. I mean, like crazy hit good.
Right.
So I said, I think we're going to go in and cut some of those songs.
Sure.
Just to shop. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not a country guy. I mean, I like country music. I do. I mean, I like it, but I'm a rocker, dude. Can you still see me?
It's a little darker, but man, I've done
dark.
A ton of these, so I mean, don't worry if But yeah,
is that better?
Yeah, that's better. Ooh, now you look.
Okay, it's getting dark in my truck because it's getting dark at my house. I mean, so
now you kind of look like Jesus.
Well, I could look. It could do worse, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, I got a halo. I got a halo around here.
Exactly. Hey, I would, and
my son.
I'd love to hear anything that off the record, anything that you have, if you are.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to tell you as soon as we get something recorded, I'll send it to you. You can play it. I don't care.
That'd be great. I was just gonna, man, Wayne Sweeney passed away in 2023. Scotty T
Yeah.
passed away in 2025. I mean, we're not
Oh,
getting any younger. I don't even know what happened to Scotty T.
Scotty had a triple bypass done a few years before, um, and he was doing fine. And from what his wife told me, he went in. And Corey Myers is a friend of mine who plays with Tom Keeper's band, and he told me the same thing. He's the one who called and told me. But well, actually, one of our guys who worked for us in Roxy, Kenny Francis, told me. But the whole story was that he went in. He had an infection, I guess, in one of the arteries that he got worked on or whatever. I don't know much about that stuff. I'm not a doctor. But he went in. It was supposed to be a simple procedure, and he got an infection, and he didn't make it through the night, dude. So they thought he was going to be coming home, and he didn't make it through the night. And my biggest deal is, was he in any pain? And Corey said that he wasn't. He said they had him on, painkillers or whatever. I guess he was out of it, but
Okay.
I had not talked to him. I think I talked to him a couple months before that, but yeah, that was a rough one. And Wayne was a rough one, man, because Wayne and me grew up together, and that was
Yeah.
he had a brain aneurysm, so
Okay.
so that was tough, man. It's tough losing your friends, man.
Oh yeah. Has there ever been any thought of trying to acquire the rights to Want Some and maybe reissuing it?
Man, I think I can. I don't. It's. Let me tell you what's weird about that. It's the way things ended. I don't know. I think there's a procedure you can go through with that. But because obviously Roxy did not recoup.
Right.
I mean, we didn't recoup $500,000.
Of course.
But so I don't know how to do that. I've had a lot of people ask me that. Geffen owns the rights, but there's no Geffen. So I don't know. I don't know what the situation is with that. And I don't know where they are. I don't know if there's any more. I don't know if there's the rights I think I could probably ask Jim Zumwalt and ask if there's a way, but no matter what, I can guarantee you this. There's money involved to retain those rights.
Oh, sure.
I'm sure I would have to buy the rights to that. And I don't know if I thought the record was selling like crazy, I would do my best. But if it was selling like crazy, somebody else would be doing the best to keep them. So
right.
I'll just let it be what it is. I'm seeing ridiculous stuff like somebody posting, I paid $450 for that Want Some album. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, man. There's so much bootleg out there that I'm not seeing funds for. But I can't spend my days trying to chase that down.
But there are record labels, and not but like Deco, who have Wildside's under the Influence just got released on vinyl. I have it. So there are some record labels that specialize in that. I don't know how much the artist like you would get out of the deal. I mean, I would hope you would get something, but anyway, there's a lot of fans.
If you know they're releasing your material, because it's your material, you'll get something out of it.
Yes.
If you have to go after them, though, if you're a writer on it, especially.
Yes.
So it's just, it's all tricky, and
I'm sure
you can't do anything unless you have to have an attorney, because you can't do I did this. Everything's got to be legal, and it takes time. So I haven't chased that. I'm too busy trying to move forward. I've kind of taken a little bit of a hiatus in the last year. Roxy, we've been rehearsing and stuff, and we did a show with Jackal. We did a show with Cheap Trick. That was a really big show. I'll send you some pictures of that.
Yeah.
So both those shows were really big shows and sold out. The Cheap Trick was sold out at Grayson Soundstage here in Memphis, and um, I mean that was it was a lot of friends came to that
Sure.
show. Cheap Trick gave us the whole run of the show. They gave us the full stage, and Jackal was great. Jesse and the guys were it was good to see them again, and they did a good show, and we had a good show, and um, I know the guys, I know our drummer, they just want to do big shows. And it's
Yep.
hard to just do big shows unless you go out on the road, and you got to go out there and support. You got to build it up again. And I think we got to have some more product out there to do that. So
Yep. It
that's
would be
what we're
great
working
to
on.
it would be great to see you guys on like the Monsters of Rock cruise.
I can't get it, man. I have tried. I don't know what the deal is. I got so many people that go on the cruise,
Yep.
so many people that I know that go on the Monsters of the Mountain, which is down the road from us. And they all say, dude, they'll send me pictures of all these people wearing Roxy Blue shirts. And I've talked to Larry Moran, and I thought we had it one year, and then the pandemic hit. And I don't know why we can't get that. And people are asking me every year, why are y'all not on this? Why are
Yeah.
y'all not getting the nod? And I got tired of battling it. It bothered me at first because I'm like, well, why are we not getting this? I mean, I'm not trying to say we're all that, but I'm saying we can bring it, and we've done good
Right.
shows. And the only thing I could think is that I started thinking, well, we're not out playing all the time. We were playing a good bit, but we're not out playing all the time. And then I thought, well, there's bands on there that don't even play ever,
Yeah.
new, like, and I'm not going to mention any names, but,
Sure.
uh, I know Roxy could blow some doors if we win, and it would be fun. And our friends in Tora Tora, they're on it a lot, and I know a lot of that has to do. Well, they're a great band, but Anthony's out there playing a lot, and he lives in Nashville, and he's friends with those guys. And I'm just, I thought, well, maybe we get the Monsters on the Mountain or something. It's like, I wanted to go on the cruise because I wanted to take my wife on a
Yeah.
cruise, and I just love being around all those people, man.
Yeah.
And there's people on there that I know that I'd like to go see. And so, I mean, maybe one day we'll get the nod. I hope I'm
Yeah.
still alive. I hope they get me before I turn 75 or something, or 80. And I'm going, I'll try to make it there.
Right.
But I mean, anybody out there that wants us to be on that, just go to them and say, hey, we want Roxy on there. And, I've sent Larry, many of texts saying, hey man, we would love to be on it.
Yep.
Consider us. And then I heard from some friends that we were considered for one, like I said, and the pandemic hit, and I don't think it went down. And we've just never got a nod on it. And I don't, that's about all the answer I have for that. I really wish I could say, but I just got tired of fighting for it, man. I'm
Sure.
like, man, if they want us, they'll call us. And we would be happy to do it. I would love to do that. I mean, I'm always about playing in front of a lot of people, so I don't really care where it is.
Right.
But I was part of that generation, and that's why I want to be a part of that. Because I mean,
Yeah.
we were part of all that, so
Totally.
it'd be fun. So maybe we'll get it one day.
Well,
Make some calls.
at whatever little level I can do things, the reason I started this was I wanted to acknowledge the bands that meant so much to me throughout my life, and you are one of them. So,
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And it means a lot to me for you to say that.
before I know you're on Facebook. Where is that the best place, like, for people to? I know there's a Roxy Blue Facebook page. Like, what social medias can I put out there for?
Yeah, I mean, we probably don't have the social media that we need. I have to do a lot of it myself. I had somebody doing it for me for a while. So basically, Roxy Blue is on Facebook. That's
Yep.
our big deal right now. I'm going to probably do something on TikTok, and we're
Yep.
probably getting ready to, with our new thing coming out. We're probably getting ready to dive into it a little heavier. So I'll hit you up and give you those.
Yep.
And I'll stay in touch with you, man. I
Yeah.
love talking to you. You're awesome. And I encourage people to listen to your radio station because I listen to it and it's awesome. Y'all play some great stuff. You'll play a lot of deep cuts, and I
Mhm.
like that. I love the Kansas you played last night. Was that last night or today?
I'm not sure when I was on. I was on last night for a few hours, but
Okay.
I wasn't on today.
Well, I got your text. I couldn't get it dive into it last night. I
Nope.
had where my
It's all right.
mother-in-law's been in the hospital, so on Valentine's Day I helped my wife get her we cleaned her, got her carpet cleaned,
Sure.
and kind of got her all ready because she came home today. So I was helping my wife do all that. My wife's a little bitty, so I had to help her.
My show is Saturday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
And so yeah, I play a lot of 80s, 90s rock. I venture into some newer bands. I try to like guys like you when they put out newer music. I try to play that because I want
Oh,
to
cool.
encourage the artists to keep playing new music. So anyway, when you have, and I'll play
Very
stuff
cool.
from the two.
I'll make sure you're the first to get it, and make sure that you send me what you want me to talk about, like the call signs.
Yep. The radio ID will do. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything before we finish up? Anything that I missed that you're like, hey, I'd like to let people know about this? And I've taken up so much of your time, by the way.
No, yeah, I've enjoyed every minute of this. No, I think I mean, I could start if we could talk for another 2 hours because I got stories about the Yang, but that could be for another time.
We'll have to do a part 2 sometime.
Let's do a part 2. A lot of people end up doing part 2s and 3s
yeah.
with me. I had one guy interview me. These two guys interviewed me, and they asked me, hey, all they said, I promise, is they said, well, we got Todd Poole from Roxy Blue. How you doing, Todd? And that's all they said for about an hour and a half, man.
I
I went
watched
on. I
that.
told, and the reason I do that is I did an interview with a DJ here in town. His name was Zeke Logan, and he broke Roxy on the radio with a demo, and actually almost got in trouble for it because they weren't supposed to play local stuff, but it ended up getting a lot of calls, so it was cool. But the first interview I ever did with him, when we got done, he said, dude, that's the worst interview I've ever done in my life. Let me give you this tape. It was a tape he did of Ted Nugent. And he said, I want you to listen to this tape and I want my tape back. And I listened to that tape, and what Ted Nugent did on there, and I don't know that I've ever tried to be like that, but it just made me feel like, I mean, I've done millions of interviews, so you just get used to it. But I don't do a question and answer thing, man. I think people want to hear. I just get to going, man, and it's like, and you want to hear the story, man. And I tend to jump into one story after another. But if I'm listening, I want to know what's going on, and I want to hear some stories, and it makes it better for everybody. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I apologize to those guys because I'm like, I bet you had 1,000 questions to ask me. They said you answered all of them. I was like, okay, cool.
My least favorite interviews when I watch them are the ones where the interviewer keeps talking over the artist. I'm like, I
Oh
want to
yeah,
hear the artist's story, not the interviewer's story. Anyway.
right. Well, you're good at it. You're good at what you do, and I had a blast today, and I hope we can. I hope we can do it again, and I'll be glad to do as many called a little segment you want me to do. I'll do
Yep.
as many as you want me to. So
I will. I'll
not a
text.
big deal.
I'll text you about that. But man, Todd, you've done amazing things in your career. You've been through it all. You're still out there doing it. Thank you so much for coming on to tell your story.
Hey, I appreciate it so much. Everybody out there, make sure you listen to the Guru on. Now, what's your deal? It's called
It's
the
Rock
Hair Metal
101.
Guru.
It's the hair metal guru, which is a
All
name
right.
shit. I started it, and then you're like, fuck, that probably wasn't the best.
Yeah, you know what though, man? People love that stuff, man. So make sure you guys tune in on Saturdays, 6 to 8 Central Time, and you guys can hear all the great rock and roll that you're missing out on regular radio.
There you go. Ma'am, thanks again, and I'll keep in touch. I'll send you a text about the radio ID. But like I said, anytime you got anything you want to promote, you're always welcome back on.
Hey, love you, bro.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Take it easy, man.
Peace.